Let me introduce myself. My name is Veronika Frisda Anintya, NPM 1916041005, Class Regular A, Department of Public Administration 2019, University of Lampung. On this occasion, I will deliver a speech and present a presentation on the issue of bureaucratic ethics in public service in Indonesia. The issue of bureaucratic ethics in public service in Indonesia has not been discussed extensively and thoroughly as is the case in developed countries. Although it has been realized that one of the basic weaknesses in public service in Indonesia is the problem of morality. Ethics is often seen as an element that is less related to the world of public service. In fact, in the literature on public service and public administration, ethics is one of the elements that greatly determines the satisfaction of the public servant as well as the success of the organization in implementing the public service itself. Before I discuss further the issue of bureaucratic ethics, I will provide a brief explanation of the concept of ethics, bureaucracy, public service, and bureaucratic ethics in public service. According to Law Number 25 of 2009 concerning public service are activities or a series of activities in order to fulfill service needs in accordance with laws and regulation for every citizen and resident of goods, service and or administrative service provided by public service providers. In the Big Indonesia Dictionary, the term ethics is referred to as 1. The knowledge of what is good and what is bad and about moral rights and obligation. 2. A collection of principles or values relating to morals. And 3. Values regarding right and wrong that a group or society adhere to. Bureaucracy according to the Advanced Linear Dictionary of Current English. A. Government carried out by salaried officials or employees who are not elected by the common people. B. A government system where officials have great power and ordinary people are not allowed to determine matters relating to their interests. The characteristics of the bureaucracy are the division of tasks, hierarchies, detailed rules and regulation, and impersonal relationship. Bureaucratic ethics has two functions, namely, first as a guide, reverence for state administration in carrying out its duties and authorities so that their action in the organization are considered good, commendable, and not blameless. Second, bureaucratic ethics as a standard for assessing whether the nature, behavior, and action of the public bureaucracy are considered good. Beyond reports and price, bureaucratic ethics problem in Indonesia, causes and impact. 1. Rigid service procedure. Convoluted service because bureaucrats tend to shift tasks at each other when providing public service. 2. The clarity of public service officer or bureaucrats is considered less clear because it is not uncommon in public service agencies that officers do not use name tags and the table on which they are assigned is not given the name of the officer and his position. 3. Public servant officer or bureaucrats are considered to be less disciplined because they arrive late to public service place to serve. The officer also extended the afternoon break, resulting in long queues and sluggish service. Delay are only given light sanction, so there is no different effect. This is because tardiness is something that is considered normal and there are still public service agencies that use manual absence. 4. The value of bureaucratic ethics has not been upheld, namely the marital system. This is related to recruitment and promotion of employees. Recruitment and employees is still based on kinship and certain groups, not based on knowledge, skill, attitudes, abilities, and experience, so that many employees are less able to complete tasks in their fields because they are not competent and experienced. Finally, the employees throw their duties to serve each other. 5. Service discrimination carried out by bureaucrats because they do not pay attention to bureaucratic ethics in public service. Bureaucrats prioritize service for their relatives, class, official, or other important people than ordinary people so that ordinary people get the last service. 6. The responsiveness of bureaucrats to complaints, problem, and aspiration of the community is considered less responsive, poorly understood and trying to fulfill, like to delay time or extend service flow so that people are not satisfied with the service provided. Bureaucrats are less friendly and responsive to citizens with low social status. They tend to ignore and even scold residents who do not understand the service process. But the citizens with high social status are very responsive and friendly and patient. 7. Public service monopoly are usually related to the cost and time of service. Irresponsible bureaucrats take advantage of this situation to seek additional money. Usually, they attract more money for people who cannot wait to queue and want to quickly get things done. This also hampers the running of public service because they prioritize people who give more money to bureaucrats. 8. Bureaucrats often make or use goods, facilities, and others belonging to the office into private property for personal gain. For example, vehicles for office operation are used personally. The use of tools such as printing machines, computers, so that these devices quickly break down. And the most frequently used funds are funds that cause corruption by bureaucrats. 9. Code of ethics, vision, and mission are merely formality. They are not given enough attention as a basis for providing public service. Sample case. I took a simple case that I experienced myself in the government agency close to where I live, namely the Prince Agency Population and Civil Registry Office. At the time, I was about to take a national identity card. It was seen that the officer who came after the scheduled noon break, his attitude towards the public who felt confused was not friendly and impolite. And at the time, I was offered by an irresponsible officer to pay 100,000 rupiah so that my resident card can be taken quickly and not queued. The responsiveness of officers to complaints and community problems is less responsive and less sensitive. Discrimination of service is very visible. Service is slow and convoluted. Analysis using a behavioral approach. I choose a public administration approach, namely a behavioral approach, to analyze bureaucratic ethical problem in public service in Indonesia. This approach was coined by a psychologist, namely John B. Weston. The behavioral approach focuses on the way people behave in real situations and organizational conditions. Adherents of behavior no longer emphasize efficiency as the primary goal of the organization, because they believe that the organization is a social system. As a social system, every organization contains conflict, cohesion, and interaction. All of these factors must be studied in order to fully understand how an organization works. In this context, the administration must pay attention to all factors of human behavior. The behavioral approach encourages intensive analysis of the internal environment, individual motivation, and informal aspect. The behavioral approach believes that humans are the prime mover of organization activities. The behavioral approach argues that individual and group efforts are in order to achieve organizational goals. Behavioral approach also includes an analysis of the internal environment. I conclude that the internal environment, namely the condition in the related institution, whether the relationship between workers or the relationship between bureaucrats and the community during service, has not been going well. The internal environment is not yet fully conducive, orderly, and responsive. Usually the relationship between bureaucrats is still too rigid as superior and subordinates, so that bureaucrats are more obedient to the tasks assigned by their superior bureaucrats than the goals of the organization or agency in providing public service. In short analysis, the internal environment is influenced by a hierarchy bureaucracy. Cooperation and working relations between bureaucrats are sometimes based on a sense of fit and incompatibility. This is due to the recruitment of employees based on class, kinship, and other interests. The behavioral approach also pays attention to individual motivation. Bureaucrats have not fully received self-awareness or motivation about the importance of quality public service. Good motivation from the internal environment is minimal. There is no motivation within the bureaucrats to get more prize for the public for providing excellent public service. If we look at the fact that many cases of corruption or office property are made private, this is also related to motivation. They are motivated by bureaucrats above them who are corrupt and misuse office assets as personal wealth. Of course, this is a bad motivation that is not worthy of imitation. Conclusion. The problem of bureaucratic ethics in public service in Indonesia has not been resolved properly. Commitment to carrying out the vision, mission, goals, and code of ethics has not been optimal. The ethics that form the basis of guidelines and reference in bureaucrats are not yet firmly abandoned. Bureaucrats have not been motivated. The bureaucrats' ethics in public service is the basis or standard for assessing public certification with public service.